Getting the transition right from the end of the backswing to the start of the downswing is one of the biggest challenges for most golfers. It's a time where the swing should almost be in neutral. So let me explain that. Hi, I'm Peter Knight, and I've created this channel, Peter Knight Golf, to help you play the best golf you possibly can. And today we're going to look at what happens at the end of the backswing, start of the downswing. How should it work and how can we best improve it? So when I swing back to the top of the swing, we generally think of the swing in two parts. You sort of think of it backswing, downswing. Probably even better to think of it as one continuous motion. But if we actually sort of divide it into three, now there are three parts that work together. So they're not sort of like backswing, stop or transition and then downswing. But for the moment, we'll consider it that way and then put it back together again. As I swing the club back to the top of the swing, I'm going from a stationary position here at address. As the club swings back, I'm gathering speed, not as much as in the downswing, but I am gathering speed during the backswing. And then as I get to the end of the backswing, everything's slowing down. So there's a preparation for the beginning of the downswing. Now, part of that preparation is allowing everything to slow. Now, when I start my downswing, here's where a lot of players will go wrong. They'll start the downswing by working as hard as they can to get the club back to the ball as quickly as they can. So if I get to the top of the swing here and really start to swing down quickly, a number of things are likely to happen. The first of them, if we look at swing path, when I swing the club back and through, I'm looking for the path of my club to stay pretty close to sort of parallel to where it is to start with. In fact, if I imagine a line running from the ball and through my elbow here, as I swing back, the club stays quite close to parallel to that line. So the club would be below that imaginary line to begin with. It would move above it at the top of the swing, and then ideally it's going to come down onto it and move down and through and stay on it as the club swings through. If I get to the top of the swing and start down with my hands, my arms, or my upper body, the club will immediately work this way. And that's really the reason why the majority of slicers slice the ball, because of the way they start the downswing. Instead, if I think from the top of the swing, I'm almost in neutral. So I'm building up a little bit of speed going back to here. I'm slowing, and then from here, as I begin my downswing, I'm allowing pressure to move back to my left foot and pretty much doing nothing with hands and arms and upper body at this point. Then as the club starts to swing down, the club will naturally gain speed. Now, this club that I've got here is actually really beneficial for helping you to do that. It's from a company called Lagshot Golf, and it's it's quite a bit heavier than a normal club, and it's also got a much more flexible shaft. Now, when I swing the club back and I get to the end of my backswing, because of the weight of the club and the flex of the shaft will want to continue flexing. The properties of a steel shaft obviously are quite different to this one, but the same sort of thing happens, but just to a lesser extent. So I get back to the top of the swing, and you'll notice when I get to the end of the backswing how there's just that little bit of extra flex with this shaft. Now, for me to move this club effectively, or for me to move any golf club effectively, I've got to work with the properties of that shaft. So my feeling is I'm going to go back, I'll let the club complete its back movement, and then when I start down, I don't want to start down really suddenly because I'll lose control of the movement of the shaft. So my movement from the end of the backswing to the start of the downswing has to be quite a fluid movement as I go through. Now, as the club swings down, I can then sense that the club head is actually trailing. So I'll hold the club to exaggerate the effect that I'm feeling, but it feels when I get to the end of the backswing, the club wants to keep going. I'm starting to move the other way, but there is a bit of a resistance from the weight of the club head. So now it feels like the club's actually trailing and the shaft is flexing. I can even play a shot with this. And again, I've got to work with the properties of the club No rush change of direction. And I can hit the ball quite effectively. My swing has to be a little bit slower, but hey, isn't that good for developing good rhythmic movement? So you can start to get the feel of how your body and your arms and your club coordinate together. So let me play one more shot with this, and then I'll play a shot with my club. So I'm trying to get the feel of what that transition is, keeping it nice and smooth, working with the properties of the shaft, and then playing a shot with my club. So my tempo will be a little bit faster, but I'm feeling like I'm trying to do much the same thing. I think I probably hit the ball better with a lag club. But practicing either getting the feeling, using something like the lag shot club, which you can find in the description underneath, a link to it with a discount for you too. But if I have that feeling of that almost waiting at the end of the backswing, it's not a pause, it's not a stop, it's a completion of the backswing movement and start of the downswing movement, you'll find that the movement will actually become a lot more rhythmic for you.